Okay, so step 3 is to begin your day with purpose. Of course, given the past 2 steps, I think this is probably what many of us would expect of the continuation moving forward with each of these, and it is no less important. It is just the natural next step. No matter what, you have to have a purpose, not only for each day, but more broadly, your life, really. Now, immediately, I know that might seem like it's a bit of a big ask that you've got to figure out your life. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is you should have a general idea as to where you might want to go with something. So you can ask yourself, well, okay, do I like playing sports that involve tennis balls? If not, then, well, maybe you don't want to do anything in your day that involves sports with tennis balls. Now, of course, that's a bit of a poor example, maybe, but you can start generalize these things. Do you maybe want to have a family? And it's not kind of a question that you have to answer definitively yes or no now, but those particular things, well, okay, if maybe you answer I don't know, or maybe, or yes to that, right? Maybe you don't know, that's completely fine. But if there's a possibility that you do want to have a family, and that is again possible if you think maybe, then that would mean you have to start doing things, even if they're small things throughout the day, that lead you to a better position to have a family. So what I mean by that is, if you're going to have a family, you probably need to get a partner. And if you want to have a partner, a relationship partner, then you probably need to be someone who would be worthy of getting a partner, right? It's not just something that everyone's going to get. You have to do things in your life to make yourself basically a better person that other people would actually like to spend time with. And so how can you do that? Well, there's many things. You can maybe be clean is a good start, maybe in decent physical shape. Maybe you've actually got stuff going on in your life as well outside of that. That's something we'll talk about in a moment. Maybe you're, well, interesting. You've got stuff that you can tell stories about. Maybe you have a good community of friends around you. Like, there's all these different things that just come from this idea of, once you have a particular goal in mind, you immediately start to get different building blocks that you have to do in order to make your way towards that on the daily basis. And so that's like an example of a pretty broad purpose. If you want to have a family, or you might want to have a relationship with someone, let's say, there's things that you can do on a daily basis to make sure that you're moving towards that, not least things like mindfulness. But even generally, what if it's something purposefully in another realm, right? Obviously, relationships and family is one part, but most importantly, when we think about purpose, I'm sure many of us just think about our life's purpose. Do you enjoy biology, right? I mean, this is generally possibly a question that we ask younger people, but it's, you know, anyone can ask this at different ages, is, do you like biology? If not, then, well, you probably don't have a purpose within biology. Do you like history? Do you like teaching? Do you like earning money? Do you like helping people? There's a bunch of different things which you can have a general purpose from. And once you've defined what that might be, well, then you have to make sure to begin your day with a purpose that is hopefully aimed towards something that you want to actually build towards. And so, I mean, you don't have to take my word for it, as we've been doing throughout these videos. A 2026 meta-analysis combined 25 samples, about 500,000 people, 50,000 deaths, and up to 32 years of follow-up, showing that higher purpose in life was associated with about a 24% lower risk of earlier mortality overall. And so, again, this particular problem of purpose is something that we answer in many of our other videos. But if you just have a purpose, and you have it in your life, you have immediately health benefits of that. It's almost like your biology actually wants to keep living because you've got something to live for, almost like the cliche says. It also showed that 17% lower all-cause mortality risk and 17% lower risk of cardiovascular events, etc. Along with that, of course, if you've got a general purpose, you might end up eating healthier, you might end up exercising, that's the general purpose which people have. And that, of course, is going to improve your overall health, physical and mental. And this moves on, of course, to what you might expect next. Another 2026 meta-analysis covering 250,000 people found meaning in life was moderately negatively associated with depression. So essentially, if you did not have meaning in your life, well, you're in a lot more trouble than if you did, right? And again, there is a question here of how do you get meaning, and we'll start talking about that maybe a little bit later. But then also, well, that's what this whole bridge project is for. All of the other videos on this channel are aimed at helping that. All of the things on the course and the near you stuff are all aimed at helping that, in fact. And of course, that's on our website a little bit more about that. But anyway, of course, purpose is good, meaning is good, but we can see that along with the mortality rates, things like depression are lower, right? There have been 13,000 adults study, and well, for people that were over 50, it found that, of course, when you have meaning, when you have purpose, you're 43% lower risk of depression, of course, less loneliness as well, feeling, and greater optimism. So if you wake up with nothing that you are moving towards, the day becomes just whatever happens to you. This is the important thing. Again, the whole point, the whole start of this video and the whole title of the video is that every morning you generally want to start with something purposeful. Now, again, it's a very, very weird balance between making sure you've got a general idea of where you're going, let's say in your life, right? Actually picking up some responsibility and thinking, yeah, I want to do this, whatever time frame it's on, and then bringing that back to the moment because it's the only thing that you control. Each day when you wake up, just making sure that one thing that you can control is, yes, I want to do all of these things in my life, but that doesn't matter. Don't think about that yet. The only way to get there is to focus on what you can do today. And what can you do today? Every time you wake up after you fix your sleep at the same time, as we talked about in the last video, you will wake up and you will do something that brings you purpose. Of course, some examples of this are the gym, are exercise, even just going on a walk, even just going and sitting outside and letting, the sunlight in your eye, or even the cloud light in your eye with a glass of water. You need to do something with a bit of purpose attached to it. With, of course, each of those, you could do some work, or maybe even just spend time with family or friends to begin the day. Or, as I mentioned, things like exercise. They're a really good pillar for your day. It sets you up moving forward. So, and well, as I'm sure we all know, if you don't do that, you then are at the whim of not only whatever happens to you, but also whatever you might feel in the particular moment. And we know that that cannot lead you, or, well, doesn't always lead you into the right way forward because, I just feel like lying in bed for another hour. Well, then all your day is completely knocked off. And again, this is not to say to completely regiment every second of your day. No, just get a general structured routine so you can get the right balance between order and chaos. So let's move on to the next one. Goals actually change behavior. This is actually one of the strongest statistics. A systematic review and meta-analysis of 141 papers, 384 effect sizes, and 16,500 participants examined goal setting across many behaviors. Goal setting produced a significant positive behavioral effect of about 0.34 correlation. Now, that is literally, obviously, statistic, but that is insane. Just setting a goal for yourself, again, whether it is a long-term goal, a medium-term goal, or even just a goal for today, improves your positive behavior. That is insane, right? A small, reliable improvement just compounds every day if you have a particular goal, something that you're moving towards, like this MTP or purpose that we're thinking of. So, specifying specific difficult goals also tends to beat vague ones. So, as we've mentioned before, difficulty is crucial. In fact, that was step one, is that you have to do difficult things. And so, again, maybe in the morning, instead of, getting up out of bed, which is a great first step. An example of a bit of purpose that you might want to set around your life is not just, a purpose every morning I'm going to begin the day with is, I'm just going to get healthier. That is not specific enough. In fact, it's actually, again, statistical that if you give something just like get healthier or I'm going to get better or whatever, it's a lot harder to stick to that. For instance, a better example would be walk for 30 minutes on a particular walk path, just for that path or that part of the morning, right? As soon as you've woken up, that's something you can do. Or go to the gym, right? That's pretty simple with regards to specifying what you're actually doing. There's not really any other way about that. And of course, if you don't go to the gym, you know that you haven't gone to the gym. Then, of course, moving on, it's not just to set goals, but actually to decide when you do it. You've actually got to set out a structure, again, as soon as you wake up, to think, this is what I am doing. You will do that as soon as you get up. And again, there's reasons for this, because first of all, you know what you're going to do, which is inherently an act of reduction in anxiety, right? Anxiety comes from the multitude of options that you have and almost the overwhelming feeling that you can get from that. But if you know what you're going to do, at the very least, what's going to happen is that you're going to fail to do it, and then you won't be happy with yourself. Now, again, it's, not a great thing to feel bad about yourself, but that negative emotion will make you then more motivated to go ahead and do the thing the next day. And so you've got to really make sure, as soon as I wake up, or I'm going to, go out, brush my teeth, have a shower, whatever, do my skincare, and then I'm going to go on this walk, or then I'm going to, walk the dog, or go to the gym, or go on a run, or whatever it might be, or start working particularly, whatever it's going to be. And so, well, moving on to the next one is that your goals, although there are, a few, well, not a few, there's infinite ones out there, really, they need to be catered towards you. Again, I'm not chucking out here particular things that you have to do this no matter what, exactly what I do, for instance, in my day. That's not the case, right? There's particular things that will come to your mind when you start to think through this and you think, okay, I want to become a better parent, or I want to become competent in my profession, or I want to actually build something useful, or I want to become physically healthy. All of these different questions you can ask yourself, and we'll go through some more in a moment. You will hopefully have an idea come to mind as how you can do that. And again, if you're in a difficult position, it depends where you are on the spectrum. If you're in a really, really bad position on the spectrum, then you can just take a smaller step towards that, right? Of course, doing the previous two steps that we've talked about in these step-by-step videos. Moving on to this, something could be as simple as just going on a walk in the morning, right? As soon as you've woken up, your purpose can be going on a walk. That can be something towards making you more healthy. But of course, many people watching this might already be going on walks, and they want to add some more things in there. And again, if you want to become a good parent, if that's something you're trying to build, then maybe you can think of some things that can help that. Maybe spending more time with your child without technology involved might be something that you go for. Maybe getting a hobby that you can do with your child is something that you can go for, or anything else that can come to your mind. Becoming competent in your profession, right? Again, removing any distractions from your environment, sitting down and reading through that page 10 times if it takes that amount of time to actually start learning and understanding what is going on, right? There's so many goals out there. You've just got to find something that you think in your life, you think, I could achieve that goal, and I would like to achieve that goal, and then start to think, okay, what is one possible step that I could take? That's all you need to do, is find that step to start moving towards it, because then of course you're better than you were the day before. So again, every morning, don't just ask, what would a successful person do? It's way too vague. You need to say, what are you trying to build? Do you want to, again, strengthen your relationships? Maybe serve your community? Maybe just help people in the world? Maybe learn something? Maybe create something? Maybe have a positive impact wherever you go? All of these different things. So, again, your day should be a small-scale representation of the life that you're trying to build. So don't get too overwhelmed with, oh my goodness, I'm going to make sure I plan everything out until I'm 90 years old. No, that's not the way. It's just think, what would I be happy to live day by day like? And how can I move closer towards that? What steps can you take? And again, that starts with beginning your day with some purpose. So again, there's more studies here. I don't really want to keep rattling off the numbers, but well, I guess a warning that I would chuck out there just to begin is that distractions are one of the worst things for this, of course, especially in the morning. Getting into that rhythm, once you've woken up, your brain is kind of getting clicked back into place, let's say. And so if there are things around you that are distracting, e.g. your phone maybe as soon as you wake up, then maybe start to put those things out of the way so that you can kind of straight line straight to the thing that you want to do to begin your day with purpose, right? The whole point of beginning your day with purpose is to set you up so that your whole day is great. But of course, that is the hardest part, is going from sleep to the purpose. And what can stop you doing that? Maybe things like your phone. And so make sure you aren't distracted. Make sure, again, you know where the gym is. If it's close to you, great, you can walk there. If you need to drive, then, beeline to the car as soon as you put your clothes on. Get the clothes ready the night before. Just make as little time as possible between you and getting to that purpose activity, so that you cannot basically be distracted, or you can be as little distracted as possible before you get there. Then, of course, it gets to a few different things on meta-analyses saying that, you will monitor the progress. Don't just kind of set it, but monitor it. But I think this is generally something you're going to do anyway, just with regards to your brain, right? Like if you wake up and you say, I want to go on a run to practice for that marathon. If you don't go on the run, you're probably going to feel, I should have gone on the run. You're monitoring the progress doing that anyway. Of course, getting close to your goal. Your brain actually does this, pretty much throughout the day. This is pretty much what your brain is doing. This is where I think a lot of emotion comes from, is actually measuring whether you're moving towards a goal that you want to get to or not. So moving on, I guess, to the final message. I've been saying this a lot. There is actionable stuff you can do. Don't immediately consume distracting things in the morning. As soon as you wake up, basically, if your phone's doing the alarm, just turn it off and go to the bathroom. I imagine hopefully everyone listening or watching to this brushes your teeth. I would advise that as a good first start. Don't go on your phone, just go brush your teeth, get out your room a little bit, let your mind wake up before getting distracted if possible. Then try your best to remember the larger aim. This doesn't have to be a daily thing. I mean, I think mindfulness is a really good practice for this. If any of you are thinking that you want to become more present, let's say, and you want to actually at all times remember, I guess, the full fledglings of your thoughts that you've thought through over time, then mindfulness is a really, really big thing. This is something I'm working on myself, to be honest, because I find myself sometimes, when I know what I'm going to do in the day, I don't actually remember kind of why I'm doing the stuff in the day, and it's important to remember that, especially to keep me on track in certain moments. But yes, remember what kind of person are you trying to become, or who are you trying to become? And so, that is just enough to set your aim for the day and get you right back into the brain mood, let's say. And then, of course, making sure that once you've got to the thing, that you do the thing as best as you can, purpose-wise. So again, I would just say try your best now to think through what would you like to start your days with. Again, if you feel tired in the mornings, maybe it's something that wakes you up. There's many things that do that. For instance, getting some brighter light in your eyes and exercise. So gym, again, maybe you could say bias, but I really would advise going to the gym as soon as you wake up. I think it's a really great way to get into the day, get some routine before you move forward. Also wakes you up very nicely, and I'm sure pretty much everyone's got some sort of goal that aligns with going to the gym, whether it's to become a better person, whether it's to discipline yourself a little bit more, whether it's actually to become attractive, whether it's to become more healthy. All of these different things benefit if you go to the gym. So yeah, do something meaningful before something expedient. That's what this is all about. Make sure you know who you're trying to become, what particular thing you can begin the day with to make sure you're moving towards that purpose and towards that goal, and then do it every day, no matter what, moving forward.